Our last stop on this CX journey is Texas, a massive state with cities like Houston, San Antonio, and Dallas, with a lot of smaller ones in between. Combining that landscape with the fast growth of autonomous vehicles creates new challenges and opportunities for the Texas Department of Transportation. TxDOT CIO Anh Selissen says AI will help the department scale more citizen-centric services and save lives in the process. You manage an expansive enterprise here at TxDOT. What is the experience, the citizen-facing side of the work that you do?
I believe the experience is really listening to what not only your business needs are, but also being a public servant for 25, 28 years. I really feel that you need to really seek to understand where is the public needing your help, right? For me, looking at transportation and starting to really know the agency, it is really trying to help the public by reducing congestion, looking at how we can improve safety on the roads, looking at how we can even process operationally the things that we do that parlay into improving the way we do business with the vendors to actually build the roads, for example. And so I really do feel like as a CIO, you need to not only understand the agency or the organization that you work with, but build the relationships with the people that you really serve, not only the public, but also our internal customers, right? Really seek to understand what do they need from IT. And I think that's why we've been successful, because we don't focus on the cool technologies out there. We focus on the technologies that will help perpetuate and move the organization forward in the best way, and making sure that we have sound ROI around anything that we do and we implement.
I'd like to talk about some of the underpinnings of those larger efforts there on. Texas is unique in a lot of ways. One thing that we've talked before about is just the sheer size, the land mass that is Texas, but the organization around information technology in the state. You're a chief information officer specifically for the Texas Department of Transportation. How do you work with the larger Department of Information Resources? How do you work with your fellow CIOs across government? Because those relationships, those chains of communication impact exactly what you're trying to effectuate there.
Yeah, I'm a big relationship builder. I'm also an extrovert, which helps quite a bit. I do believe that you cannot be successful singularly. You can't segment yourself off just because you're TxDOT. And so I'm in a lot of organizations. I now serve on the AI Public Council. And so I really do look towards my peers to really understand what are they doing that's really positive for their organization? What tools are they implementing that are effective? And how can I maybe use their lessons learned to help my organization? Because I don't think as a CIO or any leader, you need to implement anything on your own. If you can actually take the experience and the knowledge from another organization, do it. I leverage quite a bit some of the shared services from the Department of Information Resources because there are things I don't want to be in that business of doing, like data center consolidation, for example. And so I think that really understanding the effectiveness of shared knowledge and shared communication, and really building the relationships with some of your constituents, but also some of your peers across the agency that maybe are doing the same projects that you're working on, have the same issues that you have. I think you can really build a lot of synergy and overall common understanding and common practices that could overall help the state as a whole.
What is one of the end goals relative to, designing citizen-centric government tied to a term I hear over and over again in public sector IT, scaling? Like, you want to reach and impact as many people in a positive way as possible. What are some of the implications of scaling that you have to deal with as an organization?
Well, and budget always comes into play, right? You need to focus on the prioritization. What is important to your core business areas? And I say that to my team, and what's the ROI we want to achieve? And if we have sound metrics that we've implemented a tool And we think that it is going to be heavily used and actually have a lot of return on investment. So we need a meter that, that tangible success. Are we seeing outcomes that we want to see out of it? At that point, then start scaling, right? I think people start at a very high level of success for a project. I'm a big believer, start small and then grow. And that's how scalability can be done responsibly, right? And so I'm big on pilots, I'm big on POCs, pulling in the key business areas to actually advocate and actually champion that, whatever that tool technology we want to implement, working with the business also to define what does success look like for us, right? How much time savings, how much money savings can we garner? And that's a direct savings and benefit to the public of Texas. And then at that point, if we see that success, then let's scale. Scale out, though, to the appropriate manner, because not everybody in TxDOT needs that specific tool. So you don't need to go globally on implement or enterprise on implementing something unless you really understand the tangible impact and the tangible benefits that you provide. So stair-stepping any project is, I think, core to really understanding the scalability of that project and the scalability of that tool.
You were the first Department of Transportation at the state level to put out an AI-specific strategic plan. Before getting there, what did you have to do on relative to the data itself? I mean, if you don't have good data, you can't build upon that foundation in a way that leverages artificial intelligence to do the scaling that you talked about. So what happened prior to that relative to data?
So based on experience again, right, I'm a big believer that you need to have accurate information. You need to have a repository that serves as a single source of truth, because you're going to have a lot of sole source systems. And sometimes those sole source systems don't always have integrated data sets to actually make the information comprehensive to the normal layman. And so what we did the last 5 years is build out a enterprise and comprehensive enterprise data platform. And what it does is it takes critical data sets from all the different systems across the agency. It brings it into one repository. We work closely with the business to really make sure that those data sets are accurately being transitioned over to where it needs to reside. And that is where reporting occurs. So it's a single source of truth for reporting inside the agency. So you're not hitting the sole source system. You're not bringing latency and operational concerns or risk to it. You also are then able to understand what type of data do you have in that repository and who's touching it, right, from an administrative and power user perspective. So you're also layering on the security piece to it. So when AI came in, we just basically applied AI on top of that data set that was already clean, already optimized, already standardized. And so it really made the whole effort much easier for us.
In designing that citizen-centric government, give me some tangible examples. I know you've been doing work in chatbots, for example. You have large manuals that are now digital here at TxDOT.
Yes.
People can go in, ask those questions. What are a couple more examples of where you're making things from a citizen perspective better as the result of having those data underpinnings, as having this AI strategic plan?
So, we are implementing chatbot all across the agency. In fact, we have an initiative right now that we've sent out asking for use cases from all our divisions and districts to actually implement chatbots that can actually give, actually provide information that is highly used and highly requested from the public. What we're planning to do is we're planning to actually implement most of those chatbots by next year so that we can actually now save the citizens time when they go to our website, for example, and they look for certain policies, they look for certain manuals. We can actually leverage chatbot to actually expedite and remove pretty much the time it takes for us to be able to juggle, our schedule and be able to actually have quicker response times to the public. In addition to that, we're looking at how we can better leverage AI to actually help us get, information out from a compliance perspective, from an audit perspective, so that we can actually reduce the amount of time that it takes us to actually do fraud detection. So we're really working closely with that group. But I do think, going back to what we stated before, we are doing a lot to look at traffic safety and where we can leverage AI, whether it's at pedestrian walks, whether it's that's at traffic signal optimization, whether that's at third-party responder, where we can actually reduce the amount of time to get secondary crashes off the roads. We're doing so much in the areas of automation to actually drive down congestion and safety that I think the public is going to see how well TxDOT is continuing to perform. And that's going to be a direct correlation to the technology that we're getting very comfortable to implement, and also the technology that we're focusing on the right projects at the right time to actually be able to deliver good services to the state of Texas.
You can read more about the CX journeys in Texas, Oklahoma, and Tennessee on today's show page at stategovtoday.com.